Yeah.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Big movements for Donald Trump. As Mark Carney earlier today, I know we were doing our live stream of Tamara and Chris, and then all of a sudden, boom, here drops Mark Carney at the same time, sitting with President Trump. Many people saying, oh, show it now. We couldn't. We had to focus on Tamara and Chris. With that out of the way, time we talk about the meeting of Mark Carney with Donald Trump. Very good news for Donald Trump. Very bad news for Mark Carney and Canadians. A lot of rhetoric was used in this meeting. I'm going to get straight to it because there's a lot to go over. As good old Donald sat down, he sat down with Mark Carney. He sat down to talk about the tariffs. They talked about everything. Here's what happens. Carney wasn't given a single word. It was the Trump show. Trump made it very clear. Tariffs stay. Canada competition's over. The only exit plan he sees for Canada, 51st state. That was a joke, by the way. We'll get to that. Carney went to negotiate and got domesticated. We said this was going to happen. You know, Mark Carney's going to go down and Trump's going to say, that's it, bend over. Here it comes. Here's the problem. You have Mark Carney in Canada running his entire campaign around Trump derangement syndrome, around using TDS to get lefty voters to vote for the Liberals, to give them another shot after Justin Trudeau completely decimated the country. And you have Mark Carney kissing Trump's posterior whenever he gets to talk, saying he's a wonderful president, he's so amazing, he's done great things for the economy. And Trump sits there and goes, oh, you're wonderful too. I really like Mark. He said, I like him. I like working with him. You know why he likes him? A lot of people think, hey, listen to these words carefully. Trump says he likes Mark Carney. Of course he does. He's made it so easy for him to make America great again. He's made it easy to grow jobs, to grow the economy, to bring in these sweeping tariffs. If Pierre Poilievre was the prime minister, he wouldn't be resting until he got a deal with Donald Trump. Mark Carney goes down there and just lets it all happen. Of course Donald likes him. A lot of people think there's some kind of hidden messaging here that, oh, this is all part of Trump's plan. No. He's getting whatever he wants. Mark folds like a cheap deck, and this is the result. Take a listen.
What would it take for you to drop or lower your tariffs on Canadian sectors, including aluminum and steel?
Well, we're going to be talking about that with the Prime Minister. We'll be talking about tariffs. We'll be talking about a lot of that, but that's for a little bit later on. Let's acknowledge our great ambassador. Is he doing a good job?
He's doing a good job.
Otherwise, I'll get him out of there so fast.
Like, do you see Mark Carney sitting there laughing? Is he doing a good job? Yeah, we'll get him out of there so fast. We'll just move. You're fired. I mean, it's just it's a circus. I mean, I'm happy for the Americans. I love our American audience. I'm very happy for Americans. I'm happy you guys have an actual leader that gives a shit about your country. As Mark Carney sits there and just bends over, his elbows, they're way down. Way down.
Why has Canada and the United States failed to reach an agreement up until now?
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, you know, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. You know, we have great love for each other. I love this. I love Canada and the people of Canada. And Mark feels the same way about here. The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. And, you know, so in other countries, they're very far away. And there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada. They would, you know, let car companies leave here and go to Canada. But that hurts the United States. And, you know, other presidents didn't see that. They weren't business-oriented. They might have been good politicians in some cases, not in all cases. They were bad at both. But it's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working on.
So what you'll notice there is what he said. This is the best way to lay it out. And Trump does such a good job of explaining it to people as if they're writing these articles with crayons. That, well, we got a business relationship. It's essentially like two companies competing with each other. You've got Canada on one side, the United States on the other side. Both of them have cars. Both of them have steel. Both of them have lumber. You're competing against each other, and this is where Canada will ultimately lose under President Trump. So playtime essentially is over for Mark Carney. There's nothing more that can be done. There's nothing that's going to be done between Canada and America, and Trump makes that very clear.
Are you willing today to offer some compromise to Canada, maybe on steel, on anything else?
Well, we've made compromise, and we've made some compromise even on steel. But, you know, we have the same basic authority and the same basic, this could be also a little bit of a conflict with other countries all over the world on steel, because we want to make our own steel. We don't want to bring steel in for the most part, but we will bring it in, and we do bring it in. We continue to bring it in from Canada, but there is a tariff to pay. And I think that would be a normal thing to say, but we've come a long way. I think, Howard, we can truly say, do you want to make a comment on that?
Well, I think the opportunity to work together, and as you said, there's conflict. You know, why do we make cars in Canada? You've called that out, and you've addressed that. So there are places we should work together, and there are places that we have natural conflict.
It's a tough situation because we want to make our cars here. At the same time, we want Canada to do well making cars. So we're working on formulas, and I think we'll get there.
Canadians are refusing to go to the U.S. The numbers are down like 23% in the first 7 months of the year. What do you say to Canadians that don't want to go to the U.S. now because of your 51st state talk, because of the trade war, the tariffs?
Yeah.
And
well,
fear
I understand
of
that. Look, I understand
that.
that. And Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada, you know. I mean, we have the same conflict.
So what you see here, again, is more of the business talk. You know, they try to throw it out there. Hey, what do you got to say about Canadians who don't want to go to America? It has nothing to do. Trump should acknowledge that part of the reason Canadians aren't going to America has nothing to do with buy Canadian or Canada's not for sale or whatever garbage they're trying to regurgitate. It's the Canadian dollar. Our government has printed so much money and made our dollar so invaluable that Canadians can't afford to spend roughly 40 cents on every dollar to go down to the United States and pay for things that already cost as much as they do in Canada. That's the problem. For example, cities like Las Vegas that are dying with their tourism because a lot of Canadians tend to go there. If you go to Vegas and let's say you happen to walk into a McDonald's in Las Vegas, we'll say a Big Mac or whatever might cost you somewhere around $12 to $15 US. And you say, well, that's the normal going rate. But in Canada, it's $12 to $15 as well. Don't ask me how much. We don't go that often. I don't know off the hand how much it costs to go there. But when you factor in 40 cents on every dollar in the exchange rate, it becomes expensive for Canadians when it's literally almost the same cost in terms of the numeric value when they go versus the exchange rate. And that's part of the reason they won't go there. So instead of Donald saying, look, people don't want Canadian cars, it's true. People don't want Canadian cars. Americans don't want them. But it's a lot to do with their poor governance, their piss poor policies, and printing of money to try and convince voters to stick around. That's the problem.
So there isn't, it's something that will get worked out. There's still great love between the two countries, but, you know, American people want product here. They want to make it here. Detroit was emptied out and moved to Canada, moved to Mexico, moved to other places, not just Canada. And now they're all moving back, you know, they're moving back. We have, right now, I was just telling Mark, we have 17 trillion, but it's really much higher. That was as of a couple of months ago. We have over $17 trillion being invested now in the United States. As an example, Biden, he was the worst president we've ever had, but they had less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We have more than 17 trillion in 8 months. 8 months. And I think that number is going to be $21, $22 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of the world for any country, not even close. You know, if you did 1 trillion in a year, that's pretty good. We're going to do over 20. And it's coming in with AI. It's coming in with auto plants. You know, we're building auto plants, a lot of auto plants in the U.S. It's coming in.
And this is a president who gets it. This is a guy who understands that, hey, we're going to build in America. We're going to create jobs. We're going to bring in wealth. We're going to bring in prosperity for Americans. We're going to, exactly what Trump campaigned on. We're going to make America great again. So Trump is within his rights to do all of this. I think, in fact, I'm happy Mark Carney's coming home without anything so much as a deal. You'll notice in the White House, Carney praises Trump and says Canada, quote, supports his efforts. Trump is the best at everything. Trump jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state. Even Mark Nixon says it here. Looks like Carney's elbows are gone and the knee pads are on. For Mark Carney to praise Trump. Now, keep in mind again, for all the voters who support Mark Carney, who say that, oh, he's so wonderful, he's so great, he's going to handle Donald Trump. Why is he puckering up? Well, because he's got no legs to stand on. None. Look at, if you were sitting again in a business meeting, look at just how much of a beating Mark takes here from a business standpoint as he sits here defenseless, like a little defenseless child, as an adult is in the room pummeling him like a redheaded stepchild. Take a look.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister. And I'm very honored to do it because I liked him right from the beginning. I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have some natural conflict, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and your hosting of the various countries that showed up, that was a beautiful job you did, and I appreciate it very much. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia.
So one funny thing is he says the economy, well, yeah, he's done great things for the economy for America, Mark. Like, he's done nothing to help Canada. And again, guys, please, my American audience, don't think that I'm bashing Trump here. Again, rightfully so. This is incompetence. This is what incompetence looks like. He talks about peace in India and all these other things. I didn't hear anything about Mark Carney recognizing Palestine as an independent state. Sure love it if Trump did that for Alberta. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But the fact that he says, oh, wonderful things for the economy, he's getting grilled about the economy every single day, saying, I thought you were going to go deal with Trump. I thought you were going to get a better deal. He says, oh, it's wonderful what you're doing to the economy. You know why, folks? Because he moved his offices of Brookfield to the United States. They're making all the profits. That's why he doesn't care. This is why I just can't understand how his voters are so stupid to think that he really gives a shit about anything.
Disabling Iran as a force of terror. And now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where I was going.
The merger of Canada and the United States. I think that's fabulous. I'd love it if that was the announcement they were making. Just take Alberta at least, please. Maybe Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan deserves it too. Take those two, Trump, please, for the love of God. Rip it out of Canada and just take it. Come and get it. What a way to end a press conference by saying, like, he's cutting jokes at Mark's expense. Most leaders would get offended by that. Mark Carney giggles it off. But realistically, he's setting up Canada to be in a position where that is very much an inevitable possibility. I don't see any other way around it. In fact, join me for tomorrow's video. We're going to be talking about Danielle Smith, the problems she faces with the pipeline, as well as David Eby, and how it essentially just pushes Alberta into the United States with business deals, with possible talking about new states, independent states. It's all going to be discussed tomorrow. But as for this, folks, let me know what you think about Mark Carney's trip to Washington, because again, this was on your dime. This is on your 2 cents. Do you think Mark Carney had a reason to go there? Do you think anything got worked out? Are you shocked He came home empty-handed once again and just basically got silenced in a room as Donald Trump strutted his stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure you join me live on the channel now twice a week, aside from tomorrow. Tomorrow's live stream had to be canceled, but every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Unhinged Fringe on Wednesdays, Friday Night Fringe on Fridays, as we talk about everything that happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I always look forward to chatting with you guys outside of making these videos. I most importantly look forward to chatting with you this Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.